So hello, today I explore the Kaisei town in Minamiashigara city, which is the west part of the Kanagawa prefecture. The Kanagawa is right next to that Tokyo prefecture and locating the west side of west from the Tokyo. So why these towns so interesting? Because the population has been growing for about 65 years straight. Speaking of the fact that in Japan the population is decreasing, that areas of that population increasing without being that big city is quite interesting. So Kaisei is one of those towns, and although a little bit far from Tokyo, but still you can access to Tokyo from that area as well. So walking through this area, I started from Shin-Matsuda Station. So Shin-Matsuda Station is something that, it's not the Kaisei town, so it's Matsuda town actually. But to access to the west edge of the Kaisei town, it's better you get off at the Shin-Matsuda Station. So about the 15-minute walk from the station, you reach to that Kaisei town. So looking at this Shin-Matsuda area, the station, so around that 5 minutes radius of that station, there are some restaurants and things are going on. So the bit of people and economy is going on, but as you walk further to 15 minutes, it looks there used to be a town, shops, things like that, and now it's all shut. Yeah. As you kind of have an experience of the hiking around this west part of that Kanagawa area, I think Shin-Matsuda is one of those stations you actually go through to access to those mountains. So I've been this place for quite some time, maybe ever since I was in high school or something. But anyways, so you started from the station, you walk 15 minutes to the west side and you see a huge river, and it's called Sakai River or something like that. So this river is quite clean, and then you see a lot of huge mountains as you reach the river, because that across the river, there's not much of the buildings, but those are the rice fields going on. So you see huge mountains that's in the background, there's Hakone areas, mountains, and you see people fishing, and it's really relaxing, it's really natural, good environment. And as you walk across that river, you reach to the Kaisei town. And then I was actually visiting this housing, the old housing that had been on sale, and that one was located at the side of the river. So I walked there, so I just kind of walking on the side of the river to reach there, saw some driver's school. Driver's school in Japan actually has a roads and traffic lights inside the school property. So they don't use they also use the public roads, but before letting students to go on the actual public roads, they let those students to inside of their property. The property has the actual roads and traffic lights and everything just set up. So you see that thing, and then you see things. The fishing baits are being sold for those fishing in that river thing. And as I walked on that area, I saw many new housing that's been popping out. Although that the place that I was visiting was 50-year-old, but around that house, there are actually really new house 5-year-old or something. So definitely I felt that the area was actually getting popular to that, attracting new people. And also that I see that all the scenic environment is really nice around there because of this nice rice fields, mountains in behind. It's so refreshing. So definitely there's some reason that people find the place a little bit attractive and start thinking about moving there. So, but the house itself that I visited was a little bit too old. And the previous owner was the old person, and she kind of died in hospital. Everything was left inside the house, all that her stuff, and there's a cat staring at me when I approached that property and the stuff, and I felt a really kind of mentally heavy stuff to myself a little bit, and so obviously that was not a place that I would actually buy to live, or I don't know, some people don't care about those things, but it wasn't that actually a great place to visit, to be honest, although the area that's surrounding was really nice though. So that was the Kaisei area. So that was the east edge of the Kaisei. And then there's a lot of the tourist spots. There's hydrangea parks. I think that all the Instagram photo suitable areas around. But I wish I could have some time to visit there as well. But I had another appointment to another housing, which located to the west of that Kaisei town, which is the Minamiashigara city. So I catch the bus from the Kaisei town to the Daiyuzan Station. Daiyuzan Station is the station of another train line. So there are 3 services in an hour. So that was it's quite convenient, to be honest. It's quite frequent services. Usually, if you go to remote areas, the bus services are once in an hour or something like that, or even. So it's good, to be honest. And the Daiyuzan Station that I actually hopped off the bus, there's a lot of things at the hotel and supermarket, things that, all the grocery stuff, the restaurant and stuff. Although the buildings are quite old, maybe from the Showa period, maybe 30-year-old, 40-year-old, things that. But still, there was a bit of economy there. And then I was finding a little bit interesting that actually seeing this place is that some place that people actually live there, and then populations are slightly growing. So I walked about another 15 minutes from the Daiyuzan Station. So the second place that I visited was right near to the factory of Fujifilm. The film, and the area was actually quite popular for the water fountains. So there are a lot of water that's coming from the mountains, and it's being used by the factory and things as well. And the quality of the water is quite good as well. So that the house I visited as a second one was pretty. It was not what was okay. It was, to be honest, it's been a nice house, but it's kind of quite old. And the location wise, the house itself is not facing a road, so you cannot park a car, and also you cannot rebuild this house itself as well, because by the law, if the house is not facing, or that land is not facing to a road, in law of Japan, you cannot rebuild this house. So because of that, the value of the land is dropped significantly because of that, because you cannot build a new house on that land. So you have to bear with that, the old house. But house itself was a little bit kind of decaying, to be honest, especially on the roof side. So obviously that I heard from a real estate agent that there had been inspection taking place, and then they figured out that roof has to be fixed. And that house itself was a 45-year-old or something. But in Japan, the 45-year-old house is pretty old, to be honest. And the previous owner used to have a cat in the house, and because of that, I smell a lot of cat in there too. And so I see a reason why the house became so cheap. So, but anyways, that's so much about the housing, but the area itself is quite interesting. I can see the reason why the people still choosing that area to live in, and population is growing. Also, there are a lot of the grocery shopping options, although you definitely need a car to actually access there. But so that also the natural environment is pretty good too. So if you're kind of want to be outside of Tokyo, closer to the kind of nature, those Kaisei, Minamiashigara, those places are one of those options that you can choose from. And of course, it's a lot cheaper than areas that are closer to Tokyo. So, but speaking of the investment side, the real estate investment side, I would say the pricing of the housing is actually quite cheap for if you are the person who lived there. But if you are the person who are investing there, the price is a little bit higher than the rent that you can actually rent those places that you have. So I might not be so sure that if it's actually that kind of profitable place to invest.